Hello everyone, it's me, your pal, Drew from the Sewing Labs. And today I'm going to show you how we're going to make some walker bags that just tie onto walkers. They have a pocket in the front and 2 pockets on the back. And we're making these to also help with the St. Luke's patients. This is another pretty straightforward project. There's a few more steps than the activity bags, but it's super easy and I think anyone should be able to do it. If you pick up a kit from us, you should have some tags in it. You'll have some ribbon. This one's kind of fun. And then you should have a lighter weight fabric and a heavier weight fabric. So to do one walker bag, we just need 1 sheet of the heavier weight, 1 sheet of the lighter weight fabric, your 2 pieces of cut ribbon, and then a tag. Alrighty. So it's time to start sewing. Step 1. So you're gonna take your heavier weight fabric. If you're like, which one's the heavier weight? If you kind of give it a little scrunch, you can kind of feel how much it like condenses. Do that for both sheets of fabric, and you should be able to tell which one's like, oh yeah, this one's heavier. So take your heavier weight fabric, the shorter side here, it's kind of a long rectangle. Just choose one of the shorter sides and that's gonna be your top. And then you're gonna take your tag that we have, and then what we're gonna do is just like with the children's activity bags, we're going to sew it 1.5 inches away from the top left corner. So I'm going to take my tag, orient it to where the heart's facing the short side because it's up. We're going to come to the right 1.5 inches, and we're going to come down 1.5 inches. So when we're sewing it, it'll look something like this. Like this, using the top left. And then you need to pin it in place, go for it. I am just going to pinch it, make sure it's kind of straight and not too crooked. And then we're just gonna edge stitch it, so like around 1/8 inch, all around the edge of the square. And you should make sure your machine is on a straight stitch. We're gonna back stitch. And then you'll just pivot all the way around. For step 2, we're going to sew the lining part to the bag, but really we're just going to be sewing the 2 rectangles together, right sides together. So using the right side of your lining, which is your lighter weight fabric, we'll lay it over top. My tag is still up here for reference. And then I'm going to line up this so everything matches up. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sew around 1/2 inch around this whole perimeter, leaving myself a gap, like a 4 to 6 inch gap, in the middle, one of the shorter sides, and we'll use that opening to turn the bag inside out. If you stitch it closed, you might need to rip some stitches because it might be a little difficult to turn it inside out. But you know, I've seen crazier things happen. So if you need to use pins, feel free to use pins or clips. And I'm just gonna start sewing with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the start and end. Then we'll back stitch at the end, and we'll cut it off, and we still have a little opening right here. Okay, and then step 3, we're just going to trim our corners. So if you want, some people like to trim their corners just cutting off like this, where you cut off just the tip. I like to do it more at a 45-degree angle. It gets rid of more bulk that way. So we're going to do this on all 4 corners. And then I'll pick up the scraps later, don't worry. And then our next step is to turn this right side out. So you're gonna open it and then you're just gonna pull it all the way out and you'll push out your corners to get nice pointy corners. So I'll meet you back when you get that part done. So for this next step, we're just going to press the edges to make sure it's nice and tight, because the next thing we're going to do is top stitch this so that we can make it look nice. So just like that, it'll be pressed, and now we're back to ready to be sewing. So for this next step, what we're going to do is on the side that still has an opening, which mine happens to be on the short side with the tag, is we're just going to sew this closed. And we're going to do just this short side. So we're going to fold our edges in, which we kind of did when we pressed, under so that they meet the seam allowance that we had. And then if you need to pin or clip it in place, go for it. And I am going to just stitch it right at a 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to sew it 1/8 inch just to the left or underneath where I just sewed. So I did one seam, and now I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch just below it. Then we'll back stitch and we'll cut it. And this way, you can trim up your tails now or later at the end. But now there's no more opening, and we can get ready to stitch around the rest of this. For our next step, we're just going to top stitch all around the perimeter of this. And you're just going to do that right at a 1/4 inch, I believe, or 1/8 inch, just somewhere to just make sure it stays tight and kind of secures all the edges. Here we go. Now we're going to fold up to make our pockets, and we're going to fold just up our edges 9 inches. Don't worry, I'll trim my tails at the end. We're going to fold these up just 9 inches, and then you can pin or clip those where you need to. I'll use clips. And I'll do it to the other side here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of fold this in half, line up our bottoms, and then we'll just give this a little finger press right here. And that is what will kind of help us mark where our ribbons need to go. So now we're going to just sew everything together. So what we're going to do is side seam.
It's like 4.5 miles from She doesn't have one, but I do. And we're the same size, you know, so.
And then when we get close to our little fold mark that we did, we're going to fold our ribbon in half and then place it right underneath so that the folded edge is right along this edge. I'm gonna just hold it there. Use a pin if you need to. And then we're just gonna keep sewing.
It was over here.
And then you'll just keep sewing. And then you have it sewn, the sides are sewn together, and then that's how we have the ribbon. And then we'll just do the same thing on the other side. And then we'll just do the same thing for the other side.
Start making like twin size or bigger, because that's really what sleepyhead beds.
And I'll just lay it right here.
So
Hold it in place, and then I'm going to keep stitching. For our last step, we are going to turn this one giant pocket on the back that doesn't have a Sewing Labs tag, and we're going to turn it into 2 pockets. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over to meet this other side, and then you can just kind of make a little crease. This is going to help us find the middle, because if you're like me, I don't want to do that much measuring when I'm sewing. I just want to sew. So I had this little crease here in the middle. I'm going to take my ruler and some chalk, and I'm just going to draw a straight line right where that crease is, so I know where I'm sewing, and then I am just going to sew a seam right on that line. So now we are going to sew right on the line to turn this into 2 pockets. And I'll back stitch at the end. Oops, went a little far. And then all you have to do is trim up all your threads, and you have sewn a walker bag. So it looks more complicated than what it is. There's just a few more steps to follow, but I believe in you. And don't forget to, if you want, you can take pictures and share them and let us know how it's going. Thanks.